The other story that we're following here is some news on one of the most loved longs in the market. This is long Labubu trade.
Long Labubu, yeah, it's Pop Mart, of course, and I think it's pretty exceptional on a day when you've got all of these Middle East tensions that are ongoing. You've got things like that Japan data you were just talking about on the outlook for JGB buying. This is actually one of the most read stories of the day so far, but it's a bit of a warning, essentially, that's come possibly from regulators, but through state-backed media in mainland China. Let's get more on it now, bringing our Asia Equities reporter Charlotte Yang joining us this morning, and not just you, but you've brought some Labubus along with you. So
unfortunately.
Should I showcase it?
Yeah.
Bring it together for us. What's going on?
The guest of today.
Yeah, why don't you introduce your friends?
So this is so the IP is Labubu, is one of the monsters IP of Pop Mart that's making popular everywhere on social media, TikTok, Low Rat Note. This is a plush toy and this is a blind box. So they are the two different businesses of Pop Mart, but essentially a key driver of why the share's been doing so well.
Okay, well, talk to us then about arguably too well, at least the attention on this, that it's caught the attention of somewhat regulators here because of this People's Daily report.
Yeah, so today, we're seeing some of the profit-taking weakness in the shares. So essentially, People's Daily, China state media, they ran a story on the 19th page, so talking about there's some concerns with trading cards and blind boxes. So they didn't name any company in the story, but nonetheless, this kind of reignited some of the worries investors had before. So before 2023, regulatory concerns of blind boxes had been weighed on Pop Mart shares a lot. But then, since then, in 2023, the authorities have put forward a regulation talking about how you're not allowed to sell blind boxes to children under the age of 8. So today was kind of like a reminder of some of the overheating, when it comes to so popular.
What exactly, though, because this is a point that David made earlier, is that even if there's sort of like concerns around stricter regulation, I mean, it can take a lot of different forms as well. So do we know any more details on what it could actually look like or when it would be enacted, for instance?
Yeah, so far, I don't think, regulatory concerns still high up for investors. First of all, this is still a story, on state media. Didn't come directly from the government. So I think so far, the concerns investors have for this company is still more on the valuation side. So you have the shares trading at 39 times. That's way higher than Sanrio and also peers like Disney. And the risk was, this always comes like a cycle, right? You had Beanie Babies before, toys like this. But I think the difficulty is to call the fashion risk of this, and also investors closely watching how, for example, these Labubu toys, their prices in the secondary market, as a way to gauge how the demand will continue to be.
Yeah, or the pet rock, right? Wasn't that a thing as well that you had immense margins on? Anyway, I'm ranting, but I'm going to borrow these for now, Charlotte.
Please.
Well, I thank you, and you have a good weekend.
Thank you, Charlotte, for
thank you so much
them.
for that. Yeah, you'll see them never. Okay, Charlotte Yang there
on eBay next.
yes. This is for happy hour later. We'll see how much liquidity these things can get. All right. Okay. Speaking of, I think Charlotte just talked about the market cap there for Pop Mart, and here's like almost a comparison between the two companies and the trends that we're seeing here. What did you talk about this a little bit?
Well,
share price, market cap, much more expensive stock as well.
Yes, and there's obviously, one's looking maybe fairly valued. That'd be Sanrio. One's looking overvalued, as you said. That's Labubu right now. That the future initiatives and growth drivers, they look kind of different. I mean, Pop Mart, for instance, could be going down the track of more plush and mega toy series, media products, jewelry and theme park operations. Wow. Sanrio, though, is kind of looking more at that licensing route. So it's sort of different paths ahead, and certainly different risks for the companies as well.
Yeah, because how visible are earnings really, right? You could make the argument it cuts both ways, right? We can't see visibility a few quarters down the road, but it doesn't mean, of course, there won't be as much or even more explosive revenue moving forward. And I think when you look at the price targets on the street for the stocks themselves, I think you're going to have this come up on your screens very shortly. The latest one to come through this week was JP Morgan at $330 a pop. On Pop Mart.
That was yesterday, yeah.
That was yesterday. Consensus is 246. We're slightly below that because of the profit taken today. On the extreme end of this is Goldman Sachs at about 150. And just to note, these are price targets that have been updated from the sell side in the last few weeks or so. So rather updated versions of what their calls are for these stocks.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, they're really drastically different price targets on the stock. But I think, one of the main questions around this is really the Labubu's craze. Does it have staying power for Pop Mart? And Sanrio, of course, is, as we know, have been saying, it's a Japanese company. Its characters include Hello Kitty, for instance. It's still returned investors nearly 650% since it listed back in 1982. So that's a phenomenal gain, really. But that includes share price gains and dividend payouts.
Yeah.
Regardless, of course, the hype around Labubu, as we've been saying, it's very hard to ignore.
No, I mean, how many times have we talked about it on the show today? But there is news today. I mean, we've talked about this so much, really. In fact, on that very note, why not even more?
Yes, that's right. We're going to bring in the sole analyst who has a sell rating on the stock, on Pop Mart, that is. That's Jeff Zhang from Morningstar. We're also joined by his colleague covering Sanrio, Pujans Chan. So let's start then with this sell rating. I mean, it's why is that your take?
Well, instead of providing buy-sell recommendations, we focus more on the long-term competitive strength and the intrinsic value of a company.
Okay.
So for Pop Mart, our fair value estimate right now is still below its current share price, which suggests overpricing for now. This mainly stems from our more conservative risk outlook on its IP business. As you have just mentioned, Labubu and other IPs launched by Pop Mart have received tremendous popularity worldwide. But there's no guarantee that what's prevalent now will continue to stay relevant over the longer term. So this is the inherent risk of IP business that we have noted. And also compared to established peers like Sanrio and Disney, we think that the diversification of Pop Mart's business outside of Pop Toy has been at initial stage. And so it may still take decades for Pop Mart to pull things off. But right now, we're still at initial phase, so uncertainties remain. So overall, we think we have factored in a higher risk premium than what the current share price suggests.
Okay. Pujans, before I bring you in, I just want to ask a follow-up to Jeff here, really on. So the thesis is it's slightly overvalued, and you don't think there's a moat around the company.
Yeah.
What does a company need to do to form some sort of moat?
I think, first of all, it needs to demonstrate, it needs to prove that over a longer duration of time period or cycle, it can withstand the fluctuation of the consumer's preference. I mean, if we take Labubu as an example, its sales have taken off since 2023, and even more so in 2024 and this year, given the successful marketing campaign in Thailand, for example, and also the craze that's been spreading globally over its pop toys. But we think uncertainties do remain, and there are execution risks of Pop Mart expanding into other sectors, such as media, entertainment, and other merchandising, accessory, jewelry, like you just mentioned. And so we need a longer track record of proof to see how sustainable the success of Pop Mart will last.
Pujans, I'll bring you in on that because as Jeff is saying there, it's just we just don't have enough of a track record yet. Hello Kitty from Sanrio is definitely one that has been around for years now. But what kind of impact does the craze around Labubu have on Sanrio?
Yes, thank you for your question. So for me, I do not really see these two IPs competing with each other. Rather, I think that we should recognize how these newer IP companies are trying to replicate what Sanrio has done in the past 50 years. And I think Sanrio's biggest strength is that it has cultivated a wide fan base across generations and different cultures through utilizing multiple channels, as what Jeff has mentioned, through merchandising and licensing and through media promotions. And I believe that we can draw some similarities in how Sanrio markets its characters as if they were like idols, and each with their own distinct personality and appearance. So fans can vote for their favorite character each year at the Sanrio character popularity ranking. And I think it takes a long time for a company to get to the point where Sanrio characters are currently. So Sanrio not only owns Hello Kitty with over 50 years of history, but they also own My Melody, who is also going to have their 50th anniversary this year, as well as Pom Pom Purin and Cinnamoroll, who are all IPs that are over 20 years old. So I think that with the breadth and width of Sanrio's portfolio, as well as their know-how in the marketing their characters over the past few decades, I think that it's interesting to see how Pop Mart can copy the success formula of Hello Kitty and Sanrio, and I think we will see if they can become the next Hello Kitty.
Yeah, Poochens, David here. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that's really an interesting take, that how you increase the shelf life, literally and figuratively, of these products is through marketing. What would be, in your view, say, the top 1 or 2 successful marketing use cases that Sanrio has managed to put in place that maybe they could take and, Pop Mart, the folks at Pop Mart can look at and maybe emulate?
Yes, thank you very much. So for the most successful strategy that Sanrio has, I believe, is that their characters are very versatile. So that makes them very attractive for licensing partnerships. And if we compare the revenue structure of Sanrio and Pop Mart, we can see that Sanrio actually has royalties revenue accounting for about 40 to 50%. So that gives them a lot of operating leverage and also can grow their margins continuously. And the second thing that I think Sanrio has been doing very well is that Sanrio has been active in marketing through social media. And the Hello Kitty and Friends YouTube channel targeting English-speaking audience actually has over 4 million subscribers and 600 million views. And I think Pop Mart is also has a YouTube channel, and they're trying to grow the audience through their YouTube channel. So I think that this is showing why this formula has been successful, and I think that, yeah, that's what Pop Mart needs to do going forward.